Hello, this is the DM podcast. This is your host Darian. This is
Matthew.
and today we're gonna review. I'll do our first movie review. It's a little interesting. It's Matthew's favorite. That's why we're doing it.
It's not my favorite. You always say it's my favorite.
One of your favorites. It's called Love Don't Cost a Thing. It's with Nick Cannon and who's the other girl name?
Christina Milian.
Christina Milian. Yes.
With Kenan Thompson.
Yes, Kenan Thompson, Steve Harvey. But those are the two main characters. If we had to get a little overview, it's a romantic comedy, sort of more comedy than romantic, to say the least, because the romance is hit and miss. Let's say that. But let's get right into it. So the beginning scene opens in Cali with it's like a high shot. That's the best way to put it. Like it's looking down at Nick's character, whose name is Alvin or Al, depending on which persona he is. So and then it starts with a song called Love or Love. It basically plays the first like 2 minutes of the movie. I think the first 3 minutes of the movie is basically
the whole song.
Just the whole. It's the whole song throughout the whole movie. It's kind of insane, but honestly, it's a lot of like this. This movie is a lot of R&B type artists throughout the movie, and it's also based off of
You Can't Buy My Love.
Can't Buy My Love, which is like a earlier movie. So it's just a remake, but a retelling. It's more of a retelling than a remake. Because if it was a remake, it'd be the same plot. It's a retelling of the story. I've never seen it personally. I just know people like that movie as well. So, yeah. Okay, so it starts, and then when he's riding on a scooter, and the first shot you see is the back of his scooter. What's on that scooter map?
Yeah, it's on the back of his scooter. He has these He has like these exhaust pipes. They're like kind of like fishing rod holders.
Yeah.
But they don't have holes through them and stuff. They're like PVC pipe kind of.
Yeah,
like just metal.
And yeah, it looks like it was rigged by him.
Yeah, so he goes and he makes this custom bike, and he has his pool equipment in there, like his strainer and his, I keep calling it a strainer, but it's like a shield, stuff to get bugs out of the pool. So he has his poles and stuff in them holes. So he constructed this bike for his job because he's a pool
boy.
He's a pool boy. Yeah,
He's been working all summer as a pool boy. So after that shot, he goes and then drives in, does another long shot. Then you finally see really how Al looks, or Nick Cannon's character. He has this big fro with this unibrow that hasn't been cut since he was like 1, if that. So he goes and he drives to one of the houses, because the houses happens to have, he's been to this house before obviously, but it happens to have a big party. The first person he sees is Paris Miller's character, who is his mom, or Paris Miller's mom, and she's like, why are you here? Like, Al, you did it Monday. But obviously he wants to go to
the back, right? So there's this big party going on in the back. It's Paris Milton's house, in Paris Morgan's house, and he goes back there. He has his pool equipment. His mom just kind of let him. He's like, oh well. So she goes to the back.
Yeah, because free pool, right?
Yeah.
Free pool.
He goes to the back, and he's as soon as he gets back there, he's like, wow, there's a ton of people. You can tell he's not used to that environment because he still acts himself, which is insane. He's out there kind of dancing a little bit as he's trying to clean the pool, and then you see the shot turn to Christina Milian, Paris Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
So Paris Morgan comes out, and she's talking.
I've been waiting all for you, right?
Yeah, I've been waiting all day for you.
And then Nick is like, he thinks she's talking about him, and he's like in like this trance. Then he sees, she's talking about the dog. So while he's in this trance, he's like tiptoeing over the pool, and then he ends up falling into the pool because obviously it's Paris Morgan. Makes sense. Once he falls into the pool, he snaps back to reality, and then the mean guy, the character, the bully per se, is like mad because obviously he just ran to the pool, splashed water on a bunch of the cool kids, and so when he's doing that, he's like, Ted or Ned, like Matt likes to say, Ted's like, what are you doing? Like, get out of the pool. And then of course Paris like goes, and she's like, he's the pool guy, obviously he's there to clean the pool, like having his back, even though he obviously was just flaunting, but apparently Paris can't see that. Maybe she can, but maybe she's immune to it. So then after that, they go, and she's like, oh yeah, you're fine. Then it goes to where does it go to afterwards?
It goes to the scene to where Drew, right? Drew's on the...
Yeah, Drew, I think, yeah, it is Drew.
Yeah, Drew's on the TV. So Yeah. So okay, Drew's on the TV, and they.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not,
Drew's on the Okay, I got you now. Drew's on the TV, and he's like, Drew, who's Paris's NBA boyfriend, because Paris is like the main girl. So it cuts to Drew. He's having an interview with Stuart Scott, rest in peace, and he's a little wild in his interview because he's like, "Hey, you got a girl," which is kind of wild. I've never seen an ESPN person be like, "You have a girl." That's something so like paparazzi asked, but he was like, "You know what? Let's get this question in. This kid's fresh out of high school because Drew, he's him because he just graduated high school. He's like Dwight Howard, LeBron James level. I think they said he played for the Magic, but it's not really important to the story. Just something like I picked up. So he goes. He's like, you got a girl, and he's like, I'm a free agent. So that happens, and then after that, it goes back to the school, and now we meet Nick's friends, or Al's friends, who's Kenan Thompson's character, and then two others. They're not that important. Kenan Thompson is really the highlight of the friend group per se, and then Kenan Thompson is like. There's actually two different type of hallways because we never see the nerd hallway, but apparently there's a cool hallway and a nerd hallway. So I don't know how they get to class, but you can't go through the cool hallway unless you have like you're a cool kid. So
unless the nerd hallway's the garage.
They just go through the garage. They have to go to the garage to the school.
You gotta think that's the only place the popular kids weren't in the movies, in the garage.
Yeah, you're right. Because apparently popular kids can't work on cars.
Yeah.
So Keenan's trying to convince them, hey, let's get to the hallway, and they're like, they're not really hyping him up, but of course they see Paris and they're like, hey, I'm gonna go try to impress Paris. So Keenan, he goes with his Sean Johns, or at least his fake Sean Johns, because I guess his grandma stitched it into his pants. Sean Johns is like a fashion brand. I guess it was really high in like the 2000s type beat. So he's like walking all confident, and then he walks to the cool kids, and then he trips right on the locker.
What's up with that? What's that, the gay surrender? You some type of homo thug? Man, all the kick your ass, man.
So Ted's like, what are you doing in our hallway? And Keenan's like, oh, nothing. So he turns around and kind of he lifts up his jacket.
Yeah, lifts up his jacket to show the Sean John.
The Sean John logo.
And then he's like, what, you trying to, like, basically he's trying to get pegged. Like he's like, what, you trying to like lip, like, so of course he's like, what are you doing? So Keenan like runs away because no, it's not like that. Then he ends up falling on taking one of the lockers down and then falls on the floor because his Sean Johns ain't feeling right because he didn't get the right pair, obviously. So then Paris comes up, the first one that really has a heart here, because it really shows like throughout the movie, Paris like the only, at least teenager wise, that has like a heart and is genuine with her character.
Yeah.
So Paris, it goes, and she's like, nah, you can't be doing that. Like, she's like, bullies get away from her. And then we see Nick see her again.
Yeah, they make the little eye glance, right?
Yeah, the eye glance. So like, and then after that, we go, there's like a scene that doesn't matter. And then our first introduction to Steve Harvey. And
Clarence.
of course, Clarence. But really, Steve Harvey. It's Steve Harvey. It's like they ripped him straight out of the game show. Steve Harvey, the first scene we see of him is just dancing. It was just Steve Harvey dancing for an hour and 30 minutes, Matt. This would be a 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
So it goes, and Steve Harvey does his little dance, and then Nick's Al character's on the couch. You meet the fam. You meet his mom as well. Mom's not really that important. The sister, she's kind of important, but you'll see more, or hear, I guess. So he goes, and they just having a conversation about more about what Al really is. Like he's working on a project right now to fix make an engine, right? So he can get a scholarship for school. And he's been saving up all his money from pools, and they would talk about how he got how much money was it, Matt?
$1,500.
Yeah, the 1,500, right?
1,500.
So he's explain that, and they're like 1,500. So they know about the money for the engine, which is important later on. So after that,
so he needs a camshaft. So he's been saving up this money to buy this camshaft. It's lighter and it's more powerful, and it helps his vehicle, or it helps the engine.
It helps the engine run. He don't have a personal vehicle. The nerd group has a vehicle. I don't know who exactly it is. The nerd group has a vehicle, but he doesn't have a personal vehicle. He just works on his engine so he can go to college because that engine matters a lot. The camshaft in particular, because the other one's not as fast or as light, or probably won't get him that scholarship. So after that, it switches back to Paris. And Paris. Her mom's leaving. Her mom's leaving with her boyfriend somewhere, and she's basically saying, "Don't drive the car. We're leaving." But I guess she leaves the keys for some reason. She's like, "Don't drive the car."
No, because Paris was supposed to put the car in the garage.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I missed that little detail. So Paris was supposed to put the car in the garage, but she said, "Just put it in the garage. Don't drive. You're not on the insurance." So obviously, your parents' car is there. You're 18. I'm gonna drive my parents' car. so of course she gets the idea because she just got her boyfriend just publicly basically mutilated her in this big town. And when you're in the town and there's no internet and stuff, everybody knows everything. So of course, she has to like get her swagger back. Or at least her friends is convincing her. She's not really into of course she wants to drive, but she's not like driving in front of the public, type beat. But her friends are convincing her. Oh, I call one girl Cherry. I don't know the other girl's name. Cherry. You understand why I call her Cherry later. I forgot the other.
Blondie.
I forgot the Blondie.
Yeah.
I forgot the Blondie. I'm sorry. There's not that important.
Yeah, she wasn't important at all.
Yeah, Cherry has more to it. So they're driving, and then she gets a call from Drew. Drew, he's in a limo, all like souped up, whatever. He's calling her saying, "Was that true?" And then of course he was saying, like Paris says, "Was that true?" And Drew's like,
yeah. So you hear he rolls the windows down, and he's in a limousine because he's Big Money Drew.
mm-hmm.
So he's in a limousine, and you see the windows go down. It's like slowly going down. You can see the shot, and then you just see a group of girls, like 4 or 5 girls.
Mm-hmm.
So Paris hears them girls talking in the background. So she's like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And Drew denies it. He's like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's nobody." She goes, "Then say my name then." Paris says, "Say my name then."
Yeah,
and Drew refuses to do it.
She says it multiple times, and he's like, "Oh, cell service backing up," because you can pull that in the thousands. So he's like, "Cell service backing up. I'll call you back later. My bad." She's like, "Say my name." So of course she's mad. She's on the phone because there ain't no Bluetooth back then. So she's on the phone and she's not really paying attention to the road. Then she lands to a tree at this strip mall where apparently everybody hangs out at on the weekends. So, or like strip. It's not a strip mall. It's like the strip. So, and everybody saw it. So now Paris, of course, her thing's all messed up.
Yeah. So she wrecks her car. Everybody sees. So it's like a little embarrassing moment.
Yeah. So then after that, Paris heads to the dealership to go get her car fixed, obviously, because her mom's not gonna be back for a week. So she has a week to try to fix her car. She goes to the dealership. The dude's there, and he's like, "It's gonna be $3,000." And she's like, "$3,000?" And also said it won't be fixed in 2 weeks. So maybe she has the money. Probably not. She probably can get the money, but not in 2 weeks. So, so the dude says that. So she's like, "What am I gonna do now?" And then she walks away out of screen. Then Al comes in because he has to go to the shop to go pick up the camshaft that he's been saving up all his money for. So he goes to go pick up the camshaft, but I think he asked about Paris. He either asked about Paris or the guy or the dealership.
Yeah,
he
goes. Al goes. So why's Paris? Alvin goes. So it's why Paris? Why's Paris here?
Yeah,
and he goes because she needs her car fixed or something. And he goes, explain to her that we won't be able to get it done till Monday, and it's gonna cost $3,000. So Al goes, out of that $3,000, how much is the part? How much is the labor?
Yeah, and the labor was $1,500, so that means it's only $1,500 to fix the vehicle. And guess who has $1,500 right now? So after that, I was like, let me go. He talks to Paris, and he's thinking something, I guess, lights up in his head, and he's asking Paris. He's like, "Hey, I can fix your car for you." She's like, "It'd be $3,000." He said, "But only $1,500 in labor." And then she's like, "Where are you gonna get the other $1,500 at? I don't have $1,500." And then he's like,
"Yeah." So Alvin goes, "Okay, so I'll pay the $1,500, but there's a catch. You have to be pretend to be my girlfriend for 2 months."
1 month. Oh no, 1 week.
2, yeah. And then Paris goes 1 week, and Alvin goes 3 weeks, a month. And
the final deal is 2 weeks.
Paris goes 2 weeks, and he goes. Alvin goes, deal, 2 weeks.
And he said, "Don't act like it's." He says, "Don't act like it's that actually popped me when I heard that scene." She's like, "You can't buy me. I'm only renting." And she's like, like I said, what? And he's like, did I mention there's no booty licking? I mean, he's like, forget about that. It's just 2 weeks. He just like completely brushes over it. He actually says booty licking because of course he does, because he doesn't know how to talk to girls. So they come with the deal, and then after that, yeah, right, no booty licking. They head to the school, and Alvin's waiting for Paris, which is very cool detail that you'll get to later on. But he's waiting for Paris. Then Paris finally shows up, and Alvin looks like a nerd. Obviously, it's Alvin. So she goes and she's trying to fix him up. She fixes his shirt. She has to readjust his belt because I guess his belt doesn't look right. So his belt ends up falling off, and his pants fall off, and so it's just his boxers. And of course, he has freaking Scooby-Doo boxers because of course, when you're with the girl as fine as Paris Morgan, you gotta have you gotta have Scooby-Doo boxers, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You wanna go ahead and lead the next one?
Yeah. So he goes. She fixes him up. So they walk into the school, and Paris is trying to take him down the popular hallway. So he's kind of hesitant at first. You can see it's not a big deal, but he's like, okay, I can come into the hallway. So as he's walking down that hallway with Paris, you can hear everybody in the background like, what's this guy doing in our hallway? What's this nerd doing in our hallway? Nobody likes him. You see Ned across the way. Or Ted. Gosh, bro. You see Ted across the way go, what's he doing in our hallway? And her friends come up to her and go, what are you doing with him?
And she says, it's none of your business. It's like, come on. He's my friend. Why does it matter? And plus, it's the hallway. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's a hallway.
So she gives him a jacket, which of course is Sean John's to make him like just so he can have it to wear it, which is weird because she gives him a jacket. Nowadays, if a girl gave you a jacket, that wouldn't be right. You got to do this other way around. Matt would be tearing off his jacket for Paris Morgan right now. So they go and so he heads to class and he's in chemical, and when he goes to chemical, he does his little dance, which is like Matt has the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's like a little crip walk with a broken leg, like a little zombie walk, but you're trying to limp, but you're not, like a limp walk.
Yeah, in the video feed, we'll try to put a clip in so we can show you exactly what we're talking about.
It's like a little limp walk, and everybody's like, did you roll your ankle or something?
But he thinks it's cool. Apparently, I guess he has music coming on in the background in his head. So he goes to the chemical lab with his friends because all his friends are chilling there. And when they get there, he's like, where'd you get that jacket from? Keenan's like, where'd you get that jacket from? He's like, it's real Sean John. And then he's like, so where'd you get it? And he's like, from Paris Morgan. And he's like, from Paris Morgan? He's like, yeah, from Paris Morgan. So it's been worn by Paris Morgan. And so he takes he steals a jacket off of him, or he already has it off, and then he says, let me smell that. And then they end up burning the Sean John. After that, it doesn't really have any more effect with the Sean John, at least. So then after that scene, Paris goes and she sits with Al. They go to the lunchroom and they basically just discuss. They go to the lunchroom, they eat, they sit. Usually he sits with his friends, but he was like, hey, I got to sit with Paris. And of course, at this point, they understand, like, oh, it's Paris. Yeah. So he goes, he sits, and he's like, she just says, okay, see you at the game at 6:30. I think it's implied that they're having a date, but Matt says they had a cheerleading outfit. So there is details to show that they
both
did.
sides.
Yeah.
There's details for both sides.
But it infers that she's in a date. But he says,
so at the beginning of the movie, you see her walking in her cheerleading.
Yeah, in the first hallway scene, she's not wearing a cheerleading outfit. She's just wearing her cheerleading skirt. Yeah. So, because if you look at the movie later on, she has a different shirt on. So it's just her cheer skirt. So it could just be an outfit. And she was like, hey, maybe the skirt will work. So then after that, he goes and you want to go ahead and lead the next one?
Yeah. So he goes into it's on Steve Harvey, right?
Oh yeah, Steve.
So you see Steve Harvey just dance into this little
another song because that's what Steve Harvey does.
A little smooth jazz and not smooth, like a little smooth R&B. It wasn't really straight R&B. It was like a little smooth R&B, and he's dancing around with a little duster, acting like he's dusting the little knickknacks. So you go and then you meet the mom again, the sister.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So yeah, Steve's dusting, and then of course Al's a little excited because he goes and he's. Of course, he's like his dad.
He's his sister. Yeah.
He's doing like more of like the 1980s dance, I guess. So he's like watching like a exercise video and making it into dance moves, I guess. That's kind of what it looks like to me. It looks more like an old exercise video, like that you would see like in commercials. So he goes, and then obviously the sister thinks something's up because the sister is very instigated. She's like, I can tell my brother's acting different, and he's been a nerd for 80 million years. So of course, when he switches something, she's like gonna pay attention. So he goes, and so like the dad like they go, and Steve Harvey has to go talk to him. So Steve Harvey starts talking to him, and he's talking about, oh, you're gonna go on your first date, game, whatever you want to call it. So
See, the only reason they call it a date is because Nerd Alvin called it a date.
Yeah, Nerd Alvin thinks it's a date, so I guess everybody perceives it a date.
I don't think Paris Morgan.
Yeah, Paris never said it was a date, but she did.
I don't think she had any attention to that being a date.
She said coming to game. Yeah, you're right. So he goes, and Steve Harvey pulls out this box of like amazing items, and he's like, and you're thinking it's like a tie, maybe like a nice suit, something of like, you know, that your dad would pass on.
Really, because in that scene, Alvin doesn't even have a shirt on. I think he's in his boxers, right?
I think so. Yeah, he's just in his boxers with like his hair up, weirded up. So maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, he's need like a nice shirt or something,
suit and tie.
Maybe like an old John, you know.
Yeah.
So he goes and they open it, and it's just a package full of condoms, different types of condoms. You got the XXL Premium, every single one you can think of. Yeah, the Magnums. I think he said a Trojan XL or something like that.
Trojan XL Magnum.
Yeah. So he's like. So he's trying to show him, and he's like, hey, you got to use it like this. Then he's on, I think he leads him to the room, and he talks about the waterbed. And apparently, I guess, like, back in the day, waterbeds are popular. Because I know waterbeds when I was younger was like, what is it? Like, I wanted a waterbed when I was younger because I heard about those. Now you never see those in the public again. Matt, have you ever seen a waterbed?
I never even heard of a waterbed.
Yeah. Really. Yeah, there was waterbeds like definitely back in like the 90s and stuff. So I remember when I was younger, I was like, I want a waterbed. And then nowadays, like, you'll never see that anywhere. Maybe you can look up online, but that was an interesting detail to me. I wonder how many people were born on a waterbed, like for real. You know what I'm saying, Matt? Probably like in the at least the 100,000s, right? Somewhere around that mark. I don't know how popular they were or how expensive they were, but you never know. I just thought of that when I was watching the movie. So then they end up going to the game. It don't really show any, like, I think you don't really show Paris. I don't think they just go straight to. Oh no, his friends pop up.
Yeah.
His friends pop up because they obviously they heard. I guess they heard from somebody that he was going to the game with Paris, and they want to go sit next to him because there's a cool section to sit next to them or something like that.
Yeah. So Steve Harvey's in the.
Steve is like, there's like this shot like on top of the what is
the door.
The door.
Yeah.
And he's trying to push him out. He's like, get away. My son's, getting kitty cat tonight. So I don't need you here. You're just going to ruin it. So so then he finally lets him in, and basically the friends say, hey, actually Keenan has like a nice interaction with Steve Harvey. I think it's the only one they have together, but he's like, hey, you're funny or whatever.
Your dad's funny.
So he goes, and they end up, they just basically say, hey, you can go to the game with us. So they're all sitting in the section, and you want to go ahead and lead this one, Matt?
Yeah, so they're sitting in the section. They're all around. They're at the game. And Paris Morgan's on the sideline. She's sitting down. You have the nerds with the binoculars trying to stare down Paris Morgan. You have
Understandable.
Ted and all the guys playing basketball. It's kind of a quicker scene. They make a layup. So they come to the sideline. I guess it's halftime, timeout or something. Yeah,
because they're down. They're down. So so Ted's like, hey, the reason we're losing is because they're sitting in our section.
Well, Paris Morgan, they do it. I think it's halftime. No.
Yeah, it's 36. Like
because the cheerleaders go out and start dancing around.
Oh yeah,
and everything.
They have like all.
So it had to be a timeout or something.
Yeah. Well, anyways, either way, Ted.
You have the binoculars. These guys are just eyeing her down with these binoculars.
Yeah. So Ted's like, hey, why they sitting sitting over here? Or like, what are you doing? So Ted or Ned, whatever Matt likes to call him, he goes and he's like, what are you doing here, Nick? And then he ends up he throws pizza at his face. Yeah. So
smashes it like a little pie smash.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing because apparently everybody's paying attention to, for a nerd, they really pay attention to him. Yeah. So then he ends up running out and he's all embarrassed. I think a week has passed by then, which we'll find out a little bit later on. A week has passed by in this 2-week plan that Ted has. So he goes and so Paris goes. She's like, oh, he just ran out. She feels bad. She runs out of the gym, and then she sees Nick on the tree hiding up there because he's like crying and sad. And he's like deals off, which is kind of wild because I'm paying $1,500. Come on now, you're paying $1,500 and you're not gonna even go the full weeks. I guess it wasn't worth it to him. He wasn't like that, I guess. So he goes, and then Paris goes, and she's like, I'm all like basically like tells them that it's okay. Well,
she keeps her promises.
Yeah, she keeps her promises. Unlike other people, because she's thinking about Drew, who said that they were gonna be together forever or whatever type beat. So she's like, "Come on, let's go." So then after that, we have a little glow up scene. We're about like halfway through the movie, so we have a glow up.
It's
scene.
the first character change you start seeing in Nick.
Yeah, in Nick Cannon's character Al. So Al is like, they go. It's like it's a bunch of montage scenes. Basically, Al, he gets his unibrow off, gets like perfect eyebrows. You know, and then he gets new clothes. And it's weird because he's getting new clothes, right? And I'm like, how's Paris affording this? Didn't she couldn't afford $1,500? But those clothes he had on, those Sean Johns, I bet you if I looked it up now, that was probably like a good $200 on his clothes. So then after that, Mr. Sean John himself, because he got this new gear on. That Sean John outfit he had on. He also got braided hair, so his hair's not all poofy. Nick Cannon looks like. You see why Nick Cannon hasn't aged in a bit or ever actually. So Nick Cannon comes in, he's all doing his weird dance, and then his sister's like, something's up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his sister's like, something ain't right. He's gone gangster. Because he's in there. He's like talking about how he's just this changed man. He's gonna be one of the best. So he's okay. So his sister's like something up. So Steve Harvey goes, I'm gonna go talk to him again for a second time.
Yeah, but this one's a little bit different. The last one, it was like, oh, my son's like, I guess that was probably like his first date ever. Like, but now it's like, oh, my son has that cockiness of like, my son looks like probably me when I was in high school. So he goes and he's like, it goes to his he says he's gonna he told his wife, oh, we'll be fine, whatever. Then he like screams to the side. It's like he fake pretends it. It's like, I'm gonna go get him in trouble type beat. Not really. He's just gonna, you know. You can go ahead and lead this one because I really like this scene.
So he goes and he's like, Al, my mom said, your mother said, I need to talk to you.
And then he closes the door and he's like, hey, these are special. He pulls out some other condoms, and I guess they're maybe like the ones you get from like a rundown corner store. You can just throw a little slot in, grab you a little condom. I guess they're like probably like Dollar Tree condoms. I don't know if they sell condoms, but they're very I guess like, or what's the word, basic, not good
cheap.
Ones, cheap.
Yeah,
they're test condoms. I guess that's the best way to put them if that's a thing.
Or Steve Harvey calls them practice.
Practice condoms. So Steve Harvey's like, he's and then Al's like, I have enough from the full box you gave me last night. So that happened last night, but so he goes like that, and he's like, nah, these are practice. So he goes, I know, Matt, you do it better than me, so you might as well do it yourself.
Yeah, so he goes and we got to do it the Johnson way.
Yeah.
In the Johnson way, he goes and he gives it to Alvin to see what he does. He goes, he takes his sweet time.
Yeah, Alvin's like trying to like grab it like if you're trying to open a freaking Cheeto bag.
Yeah, like you're trying to open an alcohol pad or something.
Yeah.
That are wrapped inside a little. So he goes, he takes his sweet time, and he goes, there's two things wrong with what you just did. For number one, you took too long. The girl's going to be asleep by the time you get that thing open. And number two, you use two hands. The Johnsons use one hand.
Yeah. So he goes, he bites it, pulls it out in one swoop motion. I don't know how long. Steve Harvey definitely has his traits. It is Steve Harvey about it, so you never know. So he pulls it out and he's like, there you go. And then I think he starts reeling down the bottle, right?
Yeah.
He's like showing him how to do it. And then he plays like a song. He's like this. I think it's called Fire, Wind, and Earth or something like that. It's like a love making song. There's probably been probably our dads probably love make over that song. So he goes and he's like, again, Nick ran out all scared this time because his friends weren't there to save him. He ran out all scared, even though he has like this new attitude, sort of, or at least
confidence.
Confidence. He's still like, oh, my dad's being weird. So he runs out, and the song's blaring in the background. And then Steve's like, wait, you gotta go, blah blah blah, this, and then the wife comes in and she makes like a weird cat noise. She's like, this is our song, and then they go and probably bang.
Yeah, they did something.
And then Al goes to the house in his new Sean Johns to see Paris because they're gonna go to a little party. And when he goes to meet Paris, he goes and he's trying to spray cologne, I guess, and he accidentally sprays it straight in his eyes, which is bad. And then he meets the mom in probably the worst way possible.
Yeah.
And he's like, Paris. And yeah, it wasn't Paris. Let's say that. You got to watch the movie to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So then Paris finally comes out. She's like, the pool boy. And it's just, and of course, even though he has his new attitude right there, he was a nerd. So of course, the mom's like, why is she with him? Like, why is she hanging out with him? And then Paris ends up going and she's like, it's fine, mom, blah, blah, blah. And then they leave.
Yeah, so she ends up driving.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up driving, and they're just—it's a cool shot, bird's eye view.
Yeah, I love the bird's eye view shots of this because it
And
shows
it's all
like,
at night. Yeah,
it shows like the Los Angeles like feel, like you can see the palm trees in the background, so you know it's you can tell that you're in the city. Even though there's a lot of school shots in this movie and a lot of gym shots, the shots that they show out, you like the overhead shots, you can tell they did really well on that.
Yeah, so they're driving down. It's nighttime. You see the cool lights and everything, and then you go and she's driving and she's talking about what they kind of her future, his future,
kind of their future, and then and actually Paris really asks like Al what's his future. We don't really get Paris's future because they don't really ask her. She's always asking them like what they're gonna be, and they always tell her with the basketball wife or like never gonna be like what she wants to be. So they go and ask Al, and Al's like, you got.
Yeah, so Al's like, yeah, I'm a top 3 finalist in the, did he say Nebraska? I think it's Nebraska car. Anyway, he's a top 3 engine finalist. And the only thing he's missing is a
camshaft?
A camshaft to
Yeah,
make
he
it
has
lighter
camshaft,
and
yeah.
more powerful.
And she's like, so why don't you get it? And then he's like, the part's $1,500. So the cat's out the bag, and she realizes it because she's not as dumb as Al. Which you'll figure out
She gives him like a look like, are you serious? And she pulls over, and they talk about it.
Yeah, they talk about it, and she's like, well, it's like, I really can't do much now. Like the car's already fixed. She ain't gonna like be able to pull that money back.
Yeah.
So they go, and they're like, okay, let's have a fun time at the party. They go to the party, and Al, everyone's looking at Al, and these girls are already fawning over him because now Al don't look like a bum. So Al's like, he's still in kind of like his nerd mannerisms, but he's definitely has more of a confident side. Maybe that glow up really helped him. So he goes, and I guess it's kind of like a car show parking lot type thing. The cars are definitely there. So he goes and Paris, he goes and he sees one of the cars is like messing up, right? Like the cars is like the engine's messing up, and he's like, I don't know exactly what he said, but he said like the model wasn't like a good model for the
It needs some insulation.
It's one of Ted's friends. He looks like young DiCaprio. Definitely not, but he has like that hair of DiCaprio. If you've seen him, you know what I'm talking about. He goes and he's like, yeah, we can fix that though. He goes, he learns what his dad said. He definitely used what his dad used. He got the practice condoms. Probably ain't the best one when you think about it now because he's using practice ones.
Yeah.
You would think the Magnum XL would be a little better, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you would think, right? Because the other ones are probably like cheap condoms. So he goes, pulls it out, does the trick, or does the one hand like Johnson's do it, puts the rubber on I think it's
the
like
battery.
one of the battery slots.
Yeah.
One of the battery slots. I guess to give it like.
It's missing the insulation.
Yeah, insulated. Yeah. So he goes. He's like, start it. He's like, you're gonna. And then the dude, it's probably one of my favorite lines, especially from him. He's like, you're gonna fix my car with a rubber.
Yeah.
So he goes and he starts it and it works. Now everybody thinks he's cool. And then while they're moving around, and Ted, of course, he's still a hater. Ted's like, it's like you don't have a car, and he's like, or like he basically says like you don't have a car, but he said it in a cool way, like Al did. And then of course Paris backed him up, and then the girls are like, just like, oh, it's Nick Cannon, he's hot, so let's just go and like flirt with him, right?
Yeah. So the next scene is where it's cool, right? So we had that flash. Let's give a flashback to where Alvin was waiting for Paris. Yeah. So this time Paris is waiting for Alvin at the school.
I wouldn't say cool, but yeah.
It's cool because.
I mean, no, it's a cool shot, but it's not cool for him to do that.
No. Yeah. So he goes and Paris is waiting for him. She keeps looking at her watch. She's like, "Where's this guy at?" So finally, she goes into the school, and Alvin's just there, talking with everybody.
Alvin's talking. I guess he's friends with Ted now. I guess over that party, he was really chill. So now he's talking to Ted and all the people, and he's like being a little flirtatious, I guess. So he's like, of course, I think it's like towards the end of the week. This is probably like, I guess like a Wednesday or something. Yeah. So he's like, oh no, I think it was the day of. whatever. But he's like all like, I guess he got like his cred now, so he kind of don't really need Paris. I mean, it helps to have Paris Morgan. I mean, but he don't really need her right now. So he goes. So it's kind of like foreshadowing what happens later on. Then after that, Al goes to Paris's house because it's the last day. I think this might be a couple days after that scene. He goes to Paris's house and he's like, he just walks in. I guess the door was open. You know, mom don't like to keep the door locked or whatever. Yeah. So he goes in and Paris is singing, or Paris is like on her guitar, chilling, like singing a song or writing a song, right? Yeah. And then Nick helps her out like with the song, and she starts talking about what she wants to be like. She wants to be a singer and stuff like this. And he's like the first one that listened to her,
encouraged her.
Yeah, listened to her, encouraged her, like because all this time she has to listen to other people what they say, and then she finally gets her voice, which is a good scene in hindsight.
Yeah, probably one of the best Nick Cannon moments in that movie.
Yeah, because it's the first time.
Respectfully, yeah.
It's like one of the only times Nick Cannon is actually not a dick and actually understands what he's, or at least I wouldn't say he's a dick. He's just more of like not understanding of the situation. That's the first time we understood. It felt real for him, you know, like because Nick is so like what's the word, fake throughout the movie. Like fake's the best way to put it. Not when he wants to be. It's just how it portrays. And then he's like, let's go for that last day. So he's like, get dressed. So she gets dressed. They go on a date. Where they head first, Matt? Oh, they go to that
little stand-up.
Yeah, the little stand-up. Yeah. I don't know what that guy says. The guy in the stand-up. I know you had like a good line that you like.
Yeah, he just talks about. He's just trying to like a little flow, little, like not rap, but like a little flow, a little stand-up.
And they have a beautiful like song in the background. It's just like a melody, but it's pretty good to hear. But it's more of like encouragement. Like she's listening to this, she's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then after that, she's talking more about her dreams and stuff. And then they go and they talk to. All this scene's really good. Like this little part of it. So you can see what they're trying to go for. And then after that, they head to I think it's like in the original movie too. They head to a parking lot, see the stars, and they're like, and then that's when she like it's like falling for him. If she hasn't fell already, she definitely fell now. So she's like, they see the stars, and then they come out, and of course Al, being a bot, doesn't really know what he's talking about. She's like, I think it's time to do like the important thing or whatever she said. I don't know the exact wording she used, but it was something like that. And then when she was doing that, he was like, "Yeah, I think it is too." You see
her preparing for a kiss.
She's already perking up, and of course Al, being a bot, doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's like, "This is how we're gonna break up."
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was part of the original. I don't know if they went through more details or signed a contract or something. But there was more. I don't think breakup was part of the angle, but I guess Paris was nice enough to do it. I guess, or not really. Paris didn't really agree to it. She was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. She never really agreed to it. It was kind of like...
She was kind of heartbroken.
Yeah, she was kind of heartbroken because she wanted to kiss him. Yeah. Yeah, you see Al now, I understand why too.
Then he kind of led her on to believe they were thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and then of course Al, not knowing how to talk, he's like, oh, he didn't really get hints, which is a big factor. He really don't get hints.
Yeah.
So Al's like, we're going to break up tomorrow. And then she goes all sad. And when they drive home, he's like, doesn't really notice. So it's kind of like, oh, okay.
So they show up at school.
Yeah.
And they're there, and he's ready. He goes, and Paris walks in. And she's like, "Al, can I talk to you for a second?"
And then Al's like, "Nah, we ain't cool or whatever." And then he goes, and
the big boys are talking or something.
Yeah, the big boys are talking. He's like, "Be quiet." He's really good at maybe he is rude because apparently that's what's all he's doing. So yeah, he's like. He basically breaks up with her, says a bunch of stuff, and she's like, come on, not like this. Like, she was, like, actually hurt. Maybe he didn't mean it. I think that's kind of what they're trying to say. Like, he didn't mean what he said. He's just, trying to keep his cred up. Because his cred matters more than anything, really, including Paris Morgan. So, his cred's up, and he's like, nah, we're through. After that scene, he heads back to the... we see Paris first. Yeah. And then you see Al at Paris Morgan's house, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that."
I felt like it was an unsincere apology.
Yeah, it wasn't really. It was more like, thanks for the cred. Yeah. Maybe I was a little too harsh, but it was like, it it was gonna go that way regardless of what I did. You know, that's what he was trying to say, which was kind of yeah, he's a bot still. And then he comes, and then they go back to the school. It's a lot of back and forth with these scenes.
Yeah,
so he
they're
goes,
quick scenes.
Yeah, So he goes back to the school, and he's like, and then while he's there, of course, other girls are flirting with him, and Cherry ends up popping up. I don't know what her actual name is. You know why she's Cherry. She's like the African American friend that Paris has, and she was like, of course everybody thinks Al's hot now, so she's like, hey, I want to go on a date with you, basically. So she goes on a freaking a date with him, I guess. Yeah, basically it just says a date like, oh, you're mine now, and Al's like all cocky, so he's like, oh, okay, like he didn't really say yes. It was kind of like she made him say yes. It wasn't. I mean, granted, I'll say yes too, but he just kind of just fell into the trap. So now he's thinking, how do I get this girl on a date? So he goes and visits his nerd friends at the garage. Thinks it's sex time to the garage, but the nerd friends are there chilling, being nerds like usual. And he's basically saying, hey, we can finally hang out, because he's been ditching them because he's been hanging out with Paris. And then he's like, what does he say exactly, Matt?
Yeah, he goes, yeah, so I can we have this part for this car to make it go better. Mm-hmm. And I can take it to go get fixed.
Yeah, and of course Al, knowing more, he get it fixed. And then one of the friends that you'll see like throughout the movie, he's like, Keenan, he's always chill. He's just kind of like a follower, but he really likes Al because he's cool. Because if he was in that same position, he would do the same thing Al did. So he's like, the other guy's like, I'm not so sure, but Al's like, I'll fix it. We'll be able to hang out tonight, drive. So they leave. He gets the car from the shop, and then he heads out and ends up taking it to the strip, to the party area.
To the car meet again.
Yeah, the car meet area.
He's showing it off.
Yeah, he's showing it off, and then he's with Cherry. Actually, I don't know her name, but Cherry sounds good to me. She's wearing a cherry, a cherry kind of like overshirt, I guess. I don't know the best way to put it. I'd have to figure out what like girls' clothing is. But she was wearing that. She was wearing cherries, and it was showing her cherries. So she's there, and they go and they have a little date. And then Paris and Leonardo DiCaprio Jr. is also there as well. And she's trying to make Al jealous. Al is oblivious to everything, so he doesn't understand that they're trying to make jealous. He's just worried about, he sees her, but he doesn't really pay much attention to her, and that's what really ticks off Paris.
We wouldn't date each other's ex-boyfriends?
This ain't Burger King. You can't always have it your way.
Cherry's like, okay. So then Cherry goes. Paris is kind of like, whatever. Like, I don't care about this dude. So then.
So Alvin goes and he takes the car home.
No, he doesn't take the car home yet. Yes. He goes with Al. Al goes with Cherry to the parking lot, and he's with Cherry in the parking lot with and then he's like, Cherry's like, you ready to do it? And because he's trying to drive away, and she's like, why are you so scared? And then Alvin ends up getting the deed. We'll find out what the deed is a little bit, but he's like, I'm getting the deed, and it wasn't the deed. Let's just say the deed was he just touched her cherries. That's it. He didn't do anything else. So Al was super excited because it's his first time touching cherries. He goes home. Then he goes home and he reports on his blog that he has, because back in the day they would blog stuff, kind of like how we do now when we do Twitter. So he goes, and then the nerd friends come by and they're talking through the window, and the nerd friends are like, hey, you ditched us, because they've been waiting for 2 hours, and they thought he was still at the shop. No, they just lied. So his friends finally dumped him, which they should have done a long time ago. They dumped him because he's basically being a dick. And then the girl overhears it, and they're talking about the camshaft, or how he used the money for it. So his sister is very smart, who's actually probably one of the smartest characters. She understands what's happening, and she's like, okay, there we go. And then, okay, we figured it out. So then after that...
So Nick Cannon walks into the kitchen. No, first, his sister goes, and she's like, Mom, Dad, I think Paris paid that girl to be his friend. Something's up. Something ain't right. And his parents are like, he'd never do that. So then Nick Cannon walks out all confident, and he's like, he's saying what's up to the fam. And his mom asked him, did you pay to get that part?
And
he goes, nah. So then she goes, well, did you pay that girl? And he goes, that's none of your business or something.
Yeah, like that's why is it my why does it matter
Yeah.
I do it with my money type
Yeah.
beat, and so he's like, yeah, why does it matter I do it with my type of money? It's like me, and then Steve hears this, but Steve don't say a word, which I think is great. He don't say a word. He just like, okay, he's like, oh then my boy left type beat, and then we also have a scene where Paris sees Paris is in the locker room with Cherry and Blondie, and she's like, why does it matter? And of course, it just shows that she's hurt some more, basically. And then we head to the beach. Yeah, we head to the beach after that.
Yeah, to the beach. So
the beach. It's the first time we see the beach. It's actually a nice location, and this basically is like we're past the climax of like the falling action.
yeah, falling action. So Nick arrives to the beach, and he's out there and he's talking to the cool guys.
Yeah, and he has like he has another like Gucci outfit, and you're like, okay, where does he afford this? Like he spent this $1,500 actually a little bit earlier on when he came back with Cherry. He also had like this like Louis Vuitton type backpack. I'm like, did Paris really hook him up that much? She could have bought the part herself. The costume design's kind of iffy because like where did he get this money at? But you kind of just brushed by it.
Yeah. Just assume Paris bought it for him.
Yeah, we'll just assume Paris bought it, but she couldn't afford the $1,500.
Yeah. So Paris walks up to him and she's all happy. She's kind of happy. She's like, "Can we just be friends?" And Al was like, "So you're trying to be like all these other girls? I have a line, a wait list or something." He's like, she thinks he's trying to go for the banger.
Yeah.
So
and he's like, Paris, didn't I say we're through?
I was thinking that maybe we should still hang out sometime, as friends. You're a great listener. Huh?
With Paris, and he's like, oh, okay. Like, nah, this ain't it. Like, didn't we say we already broke up? And she's trying to be real to him, but he still is in this act because he can't break this cool persona instead of being real, which is kind of his problem. Like I said, Paris don't even want to heart in this movie. Paris goes, well, actually, there's one more. But Paris goes, and then this girl walks up, and she's like, hey, you want to go? And then she go. I think the line she says, which is a great line, I think the two lines they put here is pretty good. Actually, what Nick says doesn't mean it's good to say, but she's like, that girl has more bodies than a Greyhound or something like that, and then or more rides than a Greyhound, and then Nick goes, you know the line, man?
yeah, he goes, but at least this one won't cost me $1,500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think is a great line because like at least someone caught me, even though Paris Morgan is way better than her. I mean, that girl's good looking in her own right, but
still not worth $1,500.
It's still ain't worth $1,500. She ain't $1,500 at least.
Maybe 14.
So then the dancing scene from earlier, the one where they're doing like the exercise workout, Nick tries his new dance moves out and it looks stupid as hell. That's the best way to
But
put it.
they think it's cool.
They
so
think
they start doing
they
it.
think it's cool because I guess popularity can do your thing, and these guys are a lot of followers. This city's full of followers, I guess, because all of them are just dancing with him, and everybody likes it. Everybody's dancing. Even the nerds start dancing. I think one of them stops Keenan because I think Keenan's the one that starts dancing. They're like, stop, because Keenan, of course, is like, he's getting into it because Keenan be right there with them if that was the case. So then what happens is Nick goes with the Greyhound to like a little area where he can bang. Because last time he only got cherries. This time he's trying to
Get the
pop
full
it.
package,
He's trying to
yeah.
pop the cherry this time.
Yeah.
So he's there, and then Drew pops up because he's in town. I guess he came in early, and Drew's like, what is it? He's like, hey, where's Paris at? Or like, and they're like, oh yeah, Paris is just like a fling again. He tells his friends like, oh, she's just a fling. Don't worry about it. But then he gets jealous whenever Paris is like, what is it? When the friends mention
Al, yeah. So he gets all upset and he's like, Al, the only Al I know is Alvin Johnson. And they're like, he gets all the chicks now. So he's like, so when Paris finally comes up to him after getting her stuff, he's like, so what's this about you and Pool Boy? And she goes, oh, it's nothing, we're nothing. So he goes.
And you know what's kind of funny there too, before you keep going on, it's like, he's like, yeah, it's nothing. And his boys are like, oh yeah, Al's with Paris. But Channing Tatum Jr. or whatever, DiCaprio Jr. was just with Paris on a date like 3 days ago. But they ain't mentioning that. They ain't because Drew's gonna beat him right there. He's gonna be like, Nah. Yeah, it's Al's girl, not the guy that she just dated, girl.
Yeah, so after that, Paris goes, and Drew's going away because she don't believe him.
Mm-hmm.
So Paris goes and runs to Al, and she's like, "You need to."
Yeah, this is like her last resort. And
Yeah.
she's trying to ask for a favor from Al because Al she gave
Yeah.
him a favor. Even
She's
though,
basically
yeah. She's
hasn't
like,
asked
it's the
for
last
anything.
resort. Like,
Yeah.
she's hoping this is the only person that can really tell the truth. If he says it, then we're good. So while she's doing that, Al is over there, and she's like the Greyhound is starting to rub up on him, and then he starts singing the song, right? He sings part of it. He says like
Yeah.
he says like the poem part.
Mhm.
He starts saying like the little poem part, and then she goes in, and then she's like, Paris comes in. He's like, sorry, your time's up, Paris. I'm trying. Paris, you see, I have a situation here, and she's
Yeah.
like, I gotta tell about the thing, and he's like, what thing? Like he just brushes it off like nothing happened.
Yeah, so he's like, okay. And she's like, you need to tell Drew before he don't believe me and everything. She's freaking out. And he's like, I can't. And she goes, why? Because you think and the whole crowd's there. Everybody's watching.
Yeah, everybody's watching because
So she's like,
even though they're banging, it's like probably like 10 feet away from where it's actually from the beach. So I guess a little covert area. Yeah, so everyone sees it and everyone's like,
and he's like,
and
so
Drew ain't there either. Which
yeah, Drew's already trying to get to the bus to go home.
Drew's already gone. Everybody else is there, but Drew ain't there.
Yeah, so she's like, you're just scared that everybody's going to find out about that deal. And Al's like, hey, shut up. Kind of gives her that look. And she gave him one last chance to go tell the truth, and he decided not to.
And so she just built it anyway.
Yeah, she spilled the beans.
Yeah, so everybody leaves. She walks out. Of course, everybody's like, come on, guys. But they're like, well, you paid for your popularity. So even though that's kind of what people do. So he was like all sad, and everybody started running away because he ain't cool anymore. And then the girl Greyhound, he starts singing Paris's song to her, which is so rude. And then she ends up walking away either. So he's stuck there with nobody. His sock has water for some reason. I don't know why. So after that, I think they head back to the house, right?
Yeah, he goes home, and he's lying on his bed, and his dad walks in. Steve Harvey.
Yeah, because he's sad because now he has no money, no bitches, no popularity. Probably ain't getting no scholarship.
No friends.
No friends because even his friends dumped him. He couldn't even get the Greyhound, so now he's At least he got the only thing he got was cherries out of $1,500. Well, actually, I think he might have popped the cherry too. I think he did. He was like in the middle of it. He just didn't get. He got blue balled. Let's say that he got blue balled.
Yeah. So Steve Harvey comes in, and Al's all down. He's all sad, and Steve Harvey's like,
I have always been proud of you, son.
Al, sit up and look at me. Talk to me. So then he starts. It's my favorite scene in this whole movie.
It's a great scene. Like, this shows Steve Harvey has his heart because he's been like this clown character forever, but like this clown character throughout the movie, like dancing, doing whatever. But this scene like showed that
he showed the true father figure.
Yeah, shows like the true fatherly thing that you needed. And he basically said, "This is gonna cost me like what, an arm and a leg type beat."
Yeah, he goes, "You have to work a ton to pay me back, but here's your part that you need." And I was like, "Yeah," but then he starts making excuses, and Steve Harvey goes, "Al, then get off your ass and do it."
Yeah, and so
because he goes on to talk about how much potential he sees in Al and how he just wanted to be popular like Steve was in high school. And how he sees so much potential in Al, and he's proud of him, and he reiterates that multiple times that he's super proud of Al.
Yeah,
and I think it's a cool scene.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best, like the most. I don't say best scene, but Steve Harvey's definitely the best character, but like the best heart scene. That makes sense because I think he's great in every other scene, but like heart scene, easily heart to heart.
You needed that scene.
Like you can put that in any like Scorsese movie, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So. That happens. Then he goes to the shop to go fix the car. It's like this little montage. Then he heads because he just heads to the shop to fix the car, and then he heads to the friend's house because they leave the car there because the car's messed up now. So they go and he fixes it. He goes to the friend's house, and now he's like, oh, the engine's good after fixing the engine overnight. He's like, they'll check it up in a week, and then like, so the friends have a car now because, you know, to give back on him. So like his friends are cool with him now, I guess. No, not cool with him. They're just like, he's like trying to make a make do.
They respect him.
Yeah, they see that he's trying to be better, not be, you know, a dick.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Oh, so he goes, and after he just needs the engine back in time for the competition.
yeah, in a week, which.
So this is the final scene, right? They go to the high school.
Yeah, they're again at the basketball game, and Drew's there again, and they're
Guest
watching,
coach.
Yeah, he's a guest coach because he's in town. Obviously, if you have an
NBA
NBA player,
star,
yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna see him. So they're just watching the game, and they're losing, and the nerds are sitting in the cool section.
Yeah, front row. Almost.
Yeah, front row. Yeah, they don't need the binoculars this time.
Yeah.
So they go, and of course, again, Drew's out. The other character, Ted or Ned. Ned's like, hey, what are y'all doing here? Like, get out. There's this section. And now the nerds are like, nah, we're not doing that anymore. Like, we're staying here. Like, and then, of course, he like goes up to Kenan Thompson, Ted. Ted always goes to Kenan. So he goes, and then Al comes up, and
Al says, he basically tells Ned, I've messed up. I've made a ton of mistakes, but I can't beat myself worse than I've already beaten myself. And he goes, you can keep being a bully, but bully me, because it's not their fault.
mm,
And he goes on, I like mocha perhaps with a little white whipped cream on top, and he likes Michael Jackson's Thriller album. So he's like, okay.
and then you hear in the background, one of them's like,
Yeah.
one of them's like, what is it? I like Thriller too. Actually,
Yeah.
I think it's a different album, but he's like,
Yeah.
Thriller's the other one where they say. And then,
Bad album.
yeah, the bad album. Yeah,
he
and
likes the
they're
bad
like, I
album.
like Thriller.
Yeah.
And then, so that happens, and,
Somehow he gains everybody's respect
yeah,
again.
they're like, he gains their respect, and then, he walks out. He just straight walks out.
You could tell that everybody starts clapping, but the first person to start the clap was Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, because, of course, Kenan, he loves
Nick.
loves Al, because Al is, he did what, because, again, Kenan Thompson could have easily done the same thing that Al wanted to do, and
Yeah.
he would have done it better. Or not better, but like he would have tried to have it longer or whatever. He would have
Yeah.
done the same exact thing, probably worse. He probably would have paid $3,000.
Yeah.
So Al heads out, and then the Cherry and Blondie look at Paris, and they're like, "Go get your man," basically, even though
Yeah.
her man's over there. But yeah, she goes and she leaves, and now Al's basically all the way out. And Paris is running towards him, and then Drew comes out of the locker room, and he's like, "Babe, I can give you one more chance." And you know what? And then Drew's like, "I can give you one more chance. You can be like my wife or whatever." And she's like, "Nah, I'm tired of."
I have other dreams.
Yeah, I have other dreams. He's like, "Fine then." Like he basically turns the switch.
I'm
straight
your
away.
meal ticket. Yeah, he goes.
Yeah, I'm your meal ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm your meal ticket." So now she's like, "Yeah, like it don't matter anymore." So then what is it? He goes. What I like about Drew's character too is like Ted plays like the pseudo like antagonist to Al, but what's the word? Drew never has conflict with Al. Like this is the last time they see, like they don't even like say hi to each other. He just knows of the name.
The only thing that got brought up was at the very end when he says, "Go ahead, take pool boy."
Yeah, that's
But
yeah.
it wasn't even direct.
Yeah, like, but like it wasn't even at Al.
Yeah.
Like Al probably didn't hear. Like Al didn't even mention Drew at all, which I think it was great that they did that because it made you dislike Drew, but like you couldn't. But also you dislike Alvin too, and they never really had a conflict. They never, not once did they have an interaction together. Because I think like Ted filled that role, and I think that was good because it was able to split the two characters and make them
Yeah.
one-dimensional, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you make them characters have a confrontation, then you have to choose a side.
Yeah,
Like
you have
you
to,
went-
yeah. Like with until that last moment, you could have probably like been like, "Oh, Drew can change" type beat.
Yeah.
If she would have went with Drew, it would just have been good was going with Al because Al just proved he was a dick too. So she made that decision. And if they could easily, all you need is add another 10 minutes, you could probably make Drew a redeemable character.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was just thinking different because that's what Al did too. He thought different. So she goes. So it's about to be the end. She goes up to Al, and Al's like, "Does Al really? No, they just kiss, right?" Yeah. She goes up,
She's just pacing around.
Yeah,
she's
she's
like, "I don't
pacing.
even know how to find myself. I don't know what I want to do."
and he just
And
kisses
then
her.
he's basically like, "Shut up," and kisses her.
Yeah, he just kisses her.
Yeah.
He goes, It goes to the kiss scene. I think Drew goes in inside and it pops up, and that's the end of the movie. You said there's a deleted scene, right?
Yeah, it's a deleted scene.
So it's not in the movie, but Matt was doing a little research on the movie.
And the deleted scene there, it's I like the deleted scene better, honestly.
I think
alternate ending.
I think that would, you could have just tacked that on at the end.
Yeah, really. So it's the movie is long as heck.
Yeah,
already
no, but they could
anyway.
have cut. They could have cut a few scenes.
Yeah. So basically, it's Nick Cannon and Paris Morgan at
The
place again.
Yeah,
the little
place.
with the stand-up comedy where she wanted to go, where he took her on the date, and Paris Morgan's playing her song.
Yeah, Paris Morgan's playing a song while he's watching her, and it's like she no matter what it is, she's finally
Doing what she wanted to do.
Yeah, doing what she wanted to do. I think that's a better ending than the kiss, because there's not really. Again, Al didn't really redeem himself. Yeah, he stood up, but he never really said. He never even said sorry.
Yeah.
The kiss can only do so much. I think.
The kiss was basically trying to say the sorry.
Yeah, but
They ran out of runtime.
Yeah, they ran out of runtime, even though they added too much time. Yeah, it's the end of the movie. I'm now looking back on it. I've watched it about like 3 times now.
Yeah.
I actually like it better than it was the first time, Matt.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
If I had to put actually, you go with your rating first, because I know
My
my
rating?
rating's gonna be
Out of what? Out of
100.
Out of 100, I give it a 83.
An 83.
Yeah, I give it an 83.
What do you think mine's gonna be, Matt?
48.
I'd give it a 68. I think.
68.
I think actually a 70. I'll give it a straight 70. It's good. It's like I said, Steve, Nick, Garriott, Paris. She does really well in her role, but like everybody else, besides maybe a little bit of Keenan, they're nothing characters to say the least. But they honestly,
Well thought out.
yeah, it's well thought out.
They introduce things that come back later.
Yeah,
in the
they
film.
do. Like where he shows the watch, and then
Yeah.
again she's looking at her watch later on.
Yeah. Then the dancing.
We didn't even mention the Scooby Doo boxers when he's like
Oh, yeah.
when he shows his outfit off and he's like Scooby Doo boxers.
Yeah.
So, but it's cool now.
Everything came back, and it was cool. That's
yeah,
the
like
cool thing.
they put a little detail into it. They just flubbed the little scenes that could have been hashed out. And honestly, you could have cut characters because they're like an invisible scene. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
Yeah, but it doesn't though.
I'd have rather had that scene taken out and put that deleted scene in.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But that's gonna be the end. Where can we find our socials, Matt?
Yeah, on the DM podcast.
We can find us at the Thedmpod on
Thedmpod.
on TikTok. This is the TikTok. It's the Thedmpod _ on Instagram and Twitter. And the YouTube will probably be the Thedmpod. We haven't really decided yet. You'll find out when this video ends. We don't know what we're doing next. We're gonna try to bulk some, but this is definitely the first one, and we're happy with our run. See you next time.